I think we should get started. Do you agree? Okay, you guys, welcome to Let's Make Art. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. I'm Sarah Cray. If you've watched before, you've seen me. This is Raven. She's awesome. She is customer service, so you probably emailed her. She's so great.
Aw, thanks.
I love her so much. And we have Keenan. He's doing camera work.
I'm still here.
He's in the back. He does a good job.
Haven't been fired today.
He hasn't been fired today yet, though,
Yes.
is what
Still
I'm
young.
saying. So usually how this works is we paint a project together on these lives. This is the first time we haven't really done a project because, well, the holidays were crazy for us folks. They were so crazy, and you guys have been so awesome and patient. We really grew overnight in a way that
Literally.
like quite literally, we weren't expecting it. It took us a long time to catch back up, but I think we're finally there. But we needed a little bit extra time to get those January boxes to you, so I thought there's 5 Tuesdays in January, perfect time to start the first Tuesday off with just going over techniques that we'll be talking about and just kind of get you introduced to how everything works around here. So, I'm just using random colors. I just pulled some colors from the January box. So if you have that, you're welcome to play with those. Any colors you have at all would be great. I'm just gonna go over just basic materials. I'm gonna go over basic color theory and then a couple just watercolor techniques that we use a lot. And that way you'll kind of know what I'm talking about as we paint. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to say before jumping in. Keenan?
I can't think of anything.
Raven?
Can't think of anything.
One note that I would like to make, if this is your very first box, January box, and you need graphite paper, we put it in with the postcard. The Let's Make Art Matter postcard. It's a cute little postcard. We paint a picture for somebody. The graphite paper is folded in there. So look there first. And if you can't find it, then message us and we can send you a replacement if for whatever reason it was forgotten. But that's where we keep it. I feel like that's
It's a little hidden.
It's a little hidden.
It's there. It's totally there for you.
We like to make things hard for you, okay?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
It's just a scavenger hunt.
Also, I hope you guys had a great new year. It's 2019.
I know, yay!
I can't believe it. I've actually me and my family have been battling the stomach flu the last few days, so I'm a little low energy tonight. And I went to bed at 10:30 last night. So that's what I'm doing. What'd you do last night for New Year's?
Yeah, we have a 1-year-old, so
Yes.
we celebrated pretty early.
Good.
We got home about 8 o'clock,
Yes.
and that was about enough for us.
Yeah.
And I think we watched the ball drop, but that
That's
was
great.
our night, yeah.
Same for Keenan. He said he turned in early last night. I think we're a little tired over here at Let's Make Art. It's been a crazy month.
It has.
But we're glad that you guys are here with us. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to kind of talk about right now is we're just going to talk about paintbrushes. And I'm going to just announce the beginner series now. Can I do that? Yes. Sure.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, so we put together a series of videos that goes over materials and colors, techniques, tips, all of these things. And is it edited? Is it ready to go?
Yeah, it's uploaded and it just needs to be put on YouTube.
Let's drop it tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll release all of those videos. So this is kind of just a little taste of all of that information that we're releasing tomorrow. So look for that if you want any more in-depth explanations. But we're going to go over different brushes first. So if you've painted with us before, our workhorses are our round brushes, and that's what these are right here. This is a round 6 and a round 2. This is what I use for like literally almost every single project, except I think the first 2 months I used different brushes and then we stayed the same. And the reason why I like the rounds is because they have a thick belly and then a thin top right here. So you can do thick and thin lines in the same brush stroke, just depending on your pressure. So I'm just gonna illustrate that right now. But these are not the only types of watercolor brushes. So these are called rounds. So in any kind of painting, there's different types of brushes. Rounds, we have liners. This is a fan. Thank you, Raven.
Sorry.
No, I couldn't think of the word. This is great. This right here is a stroke, and I'm not going to go over all of them, but there's different like types of brushes, and then within those types of brushes, there are sizes. So they range anywhere from like a 0 to a 8 or to a 1 inch. It just depends on whatever the type of brush is how the size is measured, if that makes any sense. But I like the rounds because they're so versatile. So, and with watercolor, it's kind of about time sometimes. You got to work quickly in some areas, and so being able to do thin and thick lines at the same time is really important for me, so I like my rounds. Now, sorry, let me turn around. Sorry.
You need me to grab something for you?
No, I'll grab it, I'll grab it. There's different sizes of rounds. So I recommend the 6 and the 2. If you're looking for another size, then go for a larger size. This is a 10. I think they go all the way up to like a 16 or something, and that's pretty big. But these are just nice because if you're trying to fill a lot of space quickly, then you want to use a larger brush. So smaller brushes are for small spaces, larger brushes are for large spaces. We usually always paint on the 9 by 12 paper, so that's why the 6 and the 2 is kind of a good size. That's a big enough that we can do it. However, if you were to use like an 18 by 24 paper, you're gonna want to invest in some larger paintbrushes. Just make your life easier for you. So I gave Raven some rounds too, but I just want to show you guys when you do your rounds, I just want to illustrate the thick and thin. So this is, I just put some paint on my brush. This is me pressing lightly, and then this is me pressing down hard, and then lightly again. So it just kind of depends. You can, I like to use the side, like hold it on the side right here and press down, and that's how thick I can get it, right? That's me using the entire belly of the brush to fill it in. And then if I just want a thin line, you're gonna hold it up more vertical hold, and you're just gonna kind of go across. You can do this too, Raven, if you want.
You got it.
And then look how nice and thin you can get your line. And this is why rounds are so great to me, because I can get this and anywhere in between just with one brush, which I find really helpful. And then just to show you, just to give you a quick background, I like to use liners, which they're just long and skinny. That's all they are. This is a great detail brush. Whiskers, long thin lines, that kind of thing. Fans are great for texture. So if you're trying to do like shrubbery, then these are great because you're going to get a bunch of fun textures going on in there.
Fun.
So you can kind of go back and forth. You get some wispy thin lines. You can cross hatch. So this is a really fun brush to have. So if you are really interested in landscapes, then maybe look at getting a fan because they'll be helpful. Now this is a stroke, and this is great if you're into like painting a sky. It's just an easy way to get an even wash because it has a nice thick like base here, and it's easy to make it even. And it's nice and wide. So that's just brushes. We're gonna move on. You guys are welcome to ask questions along the way. I'll try and keep my eye on the comments if you guys have questions. But I would just like to say, oh yeah, Raven, that would be great. I would just like to say that I do not know the answer to everything, and I wish I did. I've really only been watercoloring myself for about 4 to 5 years. 4 to 5 years, not 45 years. And I've only taken one watercolor class, honestly, about 10 years ago. I did not like it, which is why it took another 10 years for me to touch watercolor. Anyways, different story. So you can ask questions. I will try and answer them as much as I can. But there are a lot of people who paint, and they can answer questions if I don't know the answer. Okay, so then the next thing that we are going to go over is we're just going to go over different types of paints. So in your kits you get the liquid paints here, and there are also like cake paints. So that's what these are. Like they come already dried in a pan.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to
No, you're fine.
put on the Wi-Fi here.
Okay. And then these I wanted to show you are tube paints. So there's 3 different types of watercolor paints, and I see this question a lot, so I hope I can help you guys with this. I like to use the liquid watercolors because I find that they're easy to use. They blend fairly easy, and the colors are really vibrant. These are tube paints. They are kind of like a cream that you squeeze out and put onto your palette, and you use all of them the same way. You just add water to them, and then you can bring them up and paint. These are essentially the same thing as the tube ones, except they were already put into a pan and dried. But even when paint's dry, no matter the liquid, no matter the tube, no matter the cake pan, you can just bring them back up with water and keep reusing them. The other difference, the big difference between the tube and the pan and the liquid are tube and pans are pigment based, which means they are light fast. So if you put it in the sun, they won't fade. Again, it depends on the grade. Like a professional grade, the color is nice and vibrant, and they're super light fast, where maybe cheaper watercolors, they are tube paints, but they're not necessarily as light fast, which means they will fade over time. The liquid ones, these ones are not light fast either. For me, though, I like the vibrancy of the color. I would prefer that over the light fastness. And you can still hang it up on a wall, just don't put it in direct sunlight, and you should be good to go.
So one of the questions that I get the most about when people ask about light fastness.
Yeah.
So when you say they fade over time, how long does that take? Is that something they need to worry about?
It just depends on the intensity of the sun, basically,
Okay.
of wherever it is hanging up. So if you put it up in a room and it doesn't get direct sunlight, it's probably going to be good for a long time. But like my mother-in-law, I painted her something, and her room gets strong sunlight. Like the entire side of her bedroom is completely windows, and it gets strong light the entire day. And probably within 6 months, that painting was faded.
Okay.
So it just really depends on how strong the sunlight is getting, and then the quality of the paints that you are using as well. Okay. Oh, Pamela got this gift for Christmas, and it hasn't arrived, but she's anxious. It's coming, Pamela. We're getting it to you guys. Okay.
Is there a benefit to, I'm sorry. There's some questions that I have actually about this too.
Please ask.
Is there a benefit to choosing between like a tube or a cake or the liquid?
It all just depends on personal preference. That's really all it is.
So the effect still comes out the same, or will one be more difficult than the other?
And the hard thing about that is it just depends on the painter whether or not it's more difficult. And you'll see in our Facebook group, people will say, should I do liquid, or which ones do you prefer, liquid or tube? And it's like half and half. Okay. Some people do really well with the liquid. They like how that works. They like how they blend. Some people do not like the liquid, and they prefer the tubes. All I ask of you guys is not to judge each other on what we choose to paint with. If you guys don't like liquid, that's totally okay. You can use your tube paints. You can use whatever you want. I still want you to paint with us, and just, don't make me feel bad for liking them. And I'm, that's all it is. Just don't like whatever works for you, and you'll just have to play with them to see what you prefer. I was using tube paints for a little bit, and then I started using liquid. Specifically, I started using Dr. P.H. Martin, and the Radiant Concentrated liquids, the colors were phenomenal. I immediately fell in love and started painting everything I could see because the colors were just so unreal, and that's what was important to me. So that's what I really love about the liquids. But some people actually really sometimes like the desaturated colors, and that is great too. So paint with whatever you have, and then just test it and see what works for you.
Susan asked, what is the difference between the Hydrus and the Radiant?
So Dr. P.H. Martin has a few different lines. There's a Hydrus line, and there is a Radiant line. So the Radiant Concentrate, that one is a dye base, so that one is not light fast. The Hydrus line, it is liquid, but it's pigment based, so it is light fast. However, they're a little bit trickier. The Hydrus line is a little bit harder to blend, and the colors, most of them are nice and saturated. There are a couple that I'm just not crazy about. So just for workability, I like the Radiant Concentrate better than the Hydrus. But again, I'm an illustrator, so light fastness is not as important to me because a lot of my work I scan, I make prints of, I work with it digitally. So just keep that in mind. It just depends on, and most of the time we're just kind of painting at home and playing around and things like that. So just don't feel like you have to limit yourself in terms of supplies. Just try it. Just see what works for you. I don't know if there's a way to make your tube paints more vibrant. Miranda asked, how do I make my tube paints more vibrant? I don't know if there's a way to do that. I mean, you can always do more layers of strong color, but I don't know if you can actually make the colors more intense.
I think sometimes too, I've just noticed that, for instance, my sister has this issue where she puts too much water in it. And so it comes out really light or pastel-y, and so when we're using the exact same paint, and whenever we compare, mine is a lot more vibrant. So I just make sure you're using enough paint and pigment as well. Yeah,
having a lot of, you want to use water, but you also want to make sure you're picking up a good amount of paint too to play with.
A couple questions on YouTube.
Okay, YouTube question.
There are two that are similar, so I'll read one that I understand.
Okay.
If we have, no, I'm sorry. Is there a way to fix the liquid so it can be in sunlight and not fade? Or protect something to put over the painting to protect it?
I have heard of there being UV protectants, as in there's UV glass that you can put in a frame or a spray. I've never tried them personally, so I cannot recommend a personal brand. And I think actually in our Facebook group, somebody said that they actually sprayed a strip and tested it, but it didn't actually make a huge difference in terms of keeping the vibrancy. So if anybody has found something that has worked for them every single time, please share it. I have not found one that does that, although I've heard that they're out there. I've heard that they exist. William is asking, how often do you need to change your water? Well, William, if I have a hard time doing this, but I think you guys can do it. What I like to do, or what you should do, and I never do, is you should have 2 cups of water with you. You should have one clean and then another one. And so this one you use to rinse your brush to get it clean. And then if you need to grab clean water for mixing or for putting down, then that's what this cup is for. So 2 cups is really handy. I just have a really hard time not getting this one dirty. So whenever it's starting to make my paper a color that I don't want it, that's when I rinse my water out. So you kind of just keep an eye on it.
Somebody asked earlier too, do they need to store their paint in a dark area?
I probably would not store the paints that are not light fast in direct sunlight. I just put mine on a desk. And it's never been a problem. I just leave it out and about on a desk.
And it's not in a sunny room?
No, I mean there's windows in the room, but it's not like this bright sun is shining right. You know what I mean? Okay. Yeah, it's like a normal room. Okay. Okay, there's a question about graphite paper. They said they're new to graphite paper and it's so dark for them, but they found that they can erase the lines to make them pale enough. So with graphite paper, and if you've never used it, you'll pay attention to this. If you're pressing down hard, you're gonna get a dark line, especially because the graphite paper we give you is new. Now, graphite paper is totally reusable, so please don't throw it away. And it actually gets better with time because the more you draw on it, the less dark your lines will be. But the great thing about graphite paper is after you draw it, you can take an eraser and kind of go across and it will lighten up those lines just a little bit, or you can just press really lightly on the lines and that should lighten up the line itself while you're tracing. Okay, you guys, you're so great. Let's move on. Let's keep on going. Okay, I'm just going to talk about color theory really quick and then we'll just go over some techniques. Okay, so
I'm sorry, can I interject just real quick?
Please
Somebody
do
asked
so.
How they could contact us via email. So our email is hello@letsmakeart.com. And you can also reach us on Facebook too if that's easier. We also are on Facebook Messenger every day. So.
And we also have like 2 customer service people. So give us within 24 hours to get back to you. Please.
Yes, we just hired a new girl and she's amazing. So we're really excited about her, but we're teaching her and so we're still a little bit.
We're still small.
You guys, we work so hard to get to everybody and we love you guys and we're trying our hardest, but yes, we're still very small.
Okay. So this is just a general color wheel, and basically a color wheel is just red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple in a circle. Now the biggest thing I want you guys to know, and I'll go more through this when we talk about the color theory in the video that we'll release tomorrow, is sometimes when you're painting, your color can get like a tone to it. So if you're using brown and you're like, this brown is looking really green, and you're like, what do I do? If the great thing is if you use that color's complement, it will tone down that color. A complement of a color is just whatever is across it from the color wheel. So red and green are complement colors, orange and blue are complementary colors, I'm sorry, and yellow and purple are complementary colors. So let's say you're like, this brown, I know that we were having some problems with the bunny, where some people are like, my bunny is super green, I don't know what's going on. If you have red, mix a little bit of red in there and it will automatically tone down that green and give it more of a neutral color. And that is true for all of these complements. This is extremely handy to know, especially because we mix colors a lot here. I try and teach you guys how to mix the colors that we're gonna get. And sometimes if you have too much of one color and you don't know what to do, just add the complement and it will tone that one color down. Yes, that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Well, sounds good to me, yeah.
Okay, now let's get on to painting. So the first thing I want to teach you guys how to do, and just if you guys never watched before, whenever we do lives, I usually always go over some sort of warm-up or technique that we're going to go over through the painting. So we will go over these again. Don't stress. I try and just pick and choose which ones though, so we're not doing like the same 10 warm-up exercises every time. But I'm just going to give you some general ones. If you've never painted with watercolor before, this is a great place to start. So grab your brush.
Right.
And what we're going to work on is we're going to do a value change first. Now this is probably the warm-up I do the most because it is the one I use the most in like every single painting. Now a value change is just going from a dark to a light. So it's just that change of gradient from a dark value to a light value. Now to make this, what I want you to do is you're going to get your brush wet. Now after you get your brush wet, hit it off the side of your cup a few times. You don't want to go straight from your cup right to your paper because that's too much water on your paper. You kind of want a balance of water where there's enough to get the paint flowing, but not so much that you're making puddles on your paper. And that just takes practice. You guys will get there. So I pick up some water. I'm going to hit it off the edge a few times, and I'm going to pick up whatever color. I'm going to grab this fuchsia color.
I still like purple.
It's a good color. And then you want to like fill up your brush with this paint color. And you're going to kind of work it almost like a rectangle. So this is going to be our darkest value here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip my brush 1 or 2 times, hit it off the side, and then right where I left off, I'm going to keep going to the right. Now it should be a lighter color, and you're just going to keep doing this. Just keep hitting, like dipping, hitting, and then keep moving to the right. And every time you pick up water, the color is going to get lighter. And that's because in watercolor, we don't really use white paint. We use the white of the paper to show through, and that acts as a way to lighten a color. Deb asked, what kind of paper should we use? So Deb, there's multiple types of watercolor paper. Honestly, what I use and what's in the kits is Canson 140-pound cold press paper. It's very affordable paper. You can find it many places. We sell it on our website. It's for the price, it's pretty great quality paper. Now, if you are interested in a thicker paper, Arches is a great thicker watercolor paper. There's a ton of, there's Strathmore. I've never really used Strathmore a lot, so I can't say what kind to get. There's also Stonehenge. I've used them and they're really great. But what you're looking for, if you're looking for a heavier weight paper that can take a lot of water without warping, then you're looking to get a paper that's 100% cotton. That's what you're interested in. Okay, so keep that in mind.
Good to know.
Yes. Okay, so now we have a nice value change from dark to light here. This is our value change. Whenever you're trying to make form in an object, if you're trying to turn something three-dimensional, you have to have a value change. That's how we make anything kind of shoot forward or go back, is from shading. So this is a really, and you might want to do this a couple of times. This is great, Raven. Excellent.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm just going to do it one more time. And the faster you work, then the less likely you'll get these kind of breaks in between here like I have on mine. Sally asked, do you tape watercolor paper down to prevent curling? Sally, if I'm going to be doing a full page like a landscape, then yes, I will tape my paper down just using painter's tape. You can just get this blue painter's tape. It rips off without actually ripping your paper, so it's nice. I guess I shouldn't say rip. Pulls off? I don't know. It doesn't hurt your paper. Peels. Excellent word, Keenan. So that's great to have. I also really like to paint just from my pad because it's glued down on one side. I try not to paint just one single sheet of paper, which is how a lot of you guys are going to be getting your papers, is just a single sheet in the kits. So if you notice that your paper has problems curling, then I would pick up some painter's tape, tape your painting down, and then once it totally dries, peel up your tape, and then you should have a more flat painting.
Now I'm getting bubbles. Is that just because I'm doing something, or is that just because? That's
just because of the paint. They should just kind of like, they'll just blend out. They shouldn't make any marks on your paper when they dry.
Okay.
It's just the paint that comes. Yeah, you don't need to worry about it. Okay. So that is probably #1 technique I use a lot. Now the next technique that we're going to do, Blake asks, is value changing the same as blending? So Blake, blending. And I'll show you guys. Sometimes you'll get these hard lines. Like you see how I have this line right here? And let's say I want to smooth that line out so I don't have such a strong line somewhere. So what I like to do is I will take my brush, just get it damp, hit it off the side a few times, and then I just work this line back and forth and try and get that line to smooth out. That's the whole goal with blending, is just trying to smooth out hard lines where I don't want those hard lines to be. Now, sometimes if your paint has been on your paper for too long and has dried too much, it will not blend. So if that's the case, then you sometimes have to do another painting wash over it to try and hide that line, or you just let it go and embrace the line. But that's why sometimes in watercolor, like working fast is nice, because then you're just like, oh, that made a line. I don't like how harsh that line is, so I'm just gonna blend this out really quick. And it's just basically working an area back and forth with the damp, clean brush. That's all it is. Just like that. Okay.
Julie on YouTube has a question I don't know how to answer, so I'm going to ask you.
Okay. Okay, Julie.
What is it when they talk about paper in pads and blocks?
Okay, that's a great question. She asked about, they can hear you, Keenan, right?
Say again?
They can hear you? They heard that? Great. I was just about to repeat it. So this is a pad, so it's glued on one side, just like this. Now, sometimes paper comes in blocks, which means it's glued on either 2 sides or all 4 sides. So it basically comes pre-taped, but it comes all glued together with the other pages. That's called a block. So I've painted on blocks before. They're really wonderful because then you don't really have to worry about your paper warping as much because they're already glued. And then they leave a little slit for you to kind of put like a palette knife in or something, where when your painting is done, you can tear it off of the block. So that's the difference between the pad and the blocks. The blocks are usually glued on 2 or more sides, and a pad is glued on 1 or not glued at all, just like with rings or something. Okay.
Tori was saying they can't hear him super great.
Sorry about that, Tori. Somebody just asked the question, what's the difference between a watercolor pad and a watercolor block? So that is what I answered.
Yeah.
Great.
And Beverly, we do always have a class on Tuesdays, typically, except for we didn't have one for Christmas.
Yes, Christmas Christmas Day was the first Tuesday we've taken off since last January. So we're always here at 7:15 Tuesday night, usually painting a project or talking about something fun. So you can expect a painting class every Tuesday night. Yeah. Okay. Now what we are going to do is, this is probably one of my favorite techniques of all time. I want you to get your paintbrush and I want you to make a shape. I'm gonna make a heart because that's just how I'm feeling. Aww. So you're gonna make a heart and you're gonna fill it in, or you could do a circle or a star or a rectangle, really whatever area you want. You're gonna fill that in with water, and I want you to pick up paint and just kind of drop it in. And it will spread. And it's gonna have a mind of its own. And the paint is gonna go its own places across the water, and it is so cool because every single time you do this, it's going to look different. So just kind of play with, now this is called, I just call this like dropping. I'm sure there's a technical term. I don't know what it is. I just drop in color. So I want you to like, and it's almost like an explosion, and the longer you hold it down, the more concentrated it will be. You can go along the edge of something just like that, and it's just going to kind of bleed out and do its own thing, but it is so cool because you don't really know what it's going to do. It's going to change every single time. It's the best part about watercolor, and this is a great exercise if you are not used to not being in control. There are some, I'm not a type A personality. I'm kind of more like, let's let it loose, let's let it go, whatever. So this is a great exercise if you don't like that, because you have to embrace that with watercolor. It's the amazing thing about it. Don't fight the water and the color, okay? Don't do it. It's gonna end badly. You just gotta embrace it. You gotta love where it's gonna go.
Paint is not a battlefield.
It is not a battlefield.
No.
Thank you for that, Raven.
You're welcome.
See, I did the same thing again. I just have a really hard time keeping one cup clean. I can't.
That like 7 dips ago.
Ah.
I was gonna say something, but I want to see how dark
It's
that cup could get.
It's like as soon as I see a clean cup of water, I'm like, I have to make that dirty. Okay. Now, and Jennifer says hers is not spreading. Jennifer, you might have too much water. If you have like a pool, sometimes it might not want to bleed. Sometimes that color will stay right on the surface. So maybe try that. Or you might not have enough water, and I know that's not very great advice, but there is a balance. You have to, it's like a thin layer of water on the paper. And sometimes the color is going to be a little stubborn and not want to spread. Sometimes the water has dried, and that's why it's not spreading. If that happens to me, I just kind of like say, come on, little buddy, help it. Okay. Now, the next thing that we are going to do is basically the opposite of that. We are going to make a wash, a colored wash. And if you're like, I don't know what a wash is just basically when you're putting paint down on the paper. That's all it is. So if I were to just pick up some paint, let's say I grab this purple, and I'm gonna make a triangle with that. Or no, that's a rectangle.
Oh, I was like, whoa.
Listen, Raven. Listen, Raven, I'm not good with shapes.
Could have sworn I did my shapes.
Okay. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to, while it's still wet, I'm gonna just drop in just water.
Like dripping paint water?
Dripping paint water. This is the one time where it's okay to not hit it off the side. And then what happens is, I call them explosions. Other people call them blooms, but it's like, I'm not interested. Explosions sound so much cooler. You get these explosions and these cool textures going on. When you drop in water, it forces the pigment to the outside of that water drip. And so you're gonna get all of these different things. It's so fun. It's a great thing to do. I especially love to do this when I'm doing leaves, like on flowers, because you have this like big leaf and you have all this room to play with, like texture and color. So why not drop in some water and some color? So that.
Oh, should I be using my own paint?
No.
Okay.
No, you use whatever your heart desires. Okay, great. Okay. So that is one of my favorite techniques. We're going to use this. I think we probably use all of these techniques every month. So you guys
Yeah.
will, these are all different types of the wet on wet technique. They're super fun. The whole point though is to let the paint and the water do the work for you, and you're kind of just like enjoying watching it. You can't fight it. They have a mind of their own, and you got to let them do their thing, and it's super cool and it's a lot of fun. Okay.
I think one of my favorite projects was the leaf because of that.
Yeah, the autumn fall leaves was a really great project for that, because that was the entire thing, is we laid down a shape of water and then we just dropped in all of the color. Okay, now the very last thing that we are going to work on is we are going to work on washes and how to make different valued washes. So if you want a dark wash, then you're going to have more paint on your brush than water. So this right here, maybe, you know what, I'm going to use a different color because yellow might be confusing because it's a light color anyway. So like this would be a dark wash right here. And then if I grab some water, this is a medium wash. And then I grab some more water, this right here, this is a light wash. So, because sometimes I'll say, put a medium wash on this area, and you might be like, I don't really know what a medium wash is. Well, just kind of keep this in mind. If this is mostly paint and a little less water, this is how dark it's going to be. This is kind of in between, and this is mostly water. Now, you might not think that we ever use this, but we use the light wash a lot. Watercolor has really beautiful, subtle changes, and just this really light color, even though compared to these other two, it might not seem like you can actually see it when you're painting, but you can, you 100% can. And it's actually really important the more you paint to pay attention to just those soft changes. Okay, now we're gonna do a fun little exercise.
Sounds good.
Yeah, this would also be considered a tint. Maria asked, would you also call those a tint? Yes, because like in regular painting, how we would do this is we would add white to it. But we're not adding white to it, we're adding more water. And so it's like tints. And then if you add black, that's called a shade. So tint makes it lighter, black makes it a shade, which makes it darker.
And this is what you're always talking about when you say that this adds a lot of like value. What's the word for that? It like elevates your painting a lot. Whenever you have all the different values, it makes it look so much more. It
just adds three-dimensionality to whatever you're painting. If you have your dark values, your medium values, and your light values, you want to make sure you usually cover at least minimum those three, and that's going to create a lot of form on your painting.
I think that's a good place to start to master. I think is to get the water right to have.
Yeah, and that just takes practice. And oh, I just want to make. Oh, Keenan, yes.
Have a YouTube question.
Sure, YouTube.
Does hard water make a difference in the paint bleeding?
Does hard water make a difference in paint bleeding? I don't know the answer to that, honestly. If somebody else knows, comment. I'll look on Facebook if anybody comments about that. But I've never painted with hard water. I know when I lived in Utah we had hard water, but I didn't paint watercolor then.
Is there a water softener here?
What?
What kind of hard water are they talking about?
Well, because sometimes that's
There's like I think
there's hard water.
Like a faucet or something.
Yeah,
yeah, like straight out of the faucet. Is there hard water in Missouri, or is it?
We'll get in details later.
Sorry, I don't know the answer to that.
This is very scientific.
It's basically what I'm saying to you.
Then
okay.
I have one more YouTube question.
Yeah.
From Julie again.
Julie.
She said she was wondering, what is a glaze wash?
I don't know if I know what a glaze wash is, but I'll look at that, Julie. I'll look up glaze wash and
Because I know what a glazed donut is.
Glazed donut, same thing.
Oh, that's delicious.
Same thing,
like
Keenan.
glaze washes, I think.
Glaze washes.
Okay, and just a little tip for you guys. Sometimes if you're painting and you get this texture right here, you're not using enough water. So you want to have enough water on your brush to where you are getting a smooth line. Okay? I see this a lot with people who are brand new to watercolor because they're just used to picking up paint and not water, which is totally understandable, especially if you come from acrylic or oil. But this is not the texture we really want to see. You want to be able to paint smoothly, and that's how you're going to get some nice sharp lines. So if you see that happening on your brush, just pick up a little bit more water and you will be fine. Oh, hard water is usually well water.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. I think you're thinking of an aerator, which is on the end of the faucet. That makes the water like a steady stream of water. I don't know. I can't. Never mind.
Keenan, I don't know what I'm saying about hard water.
It's fine.
Okay. Aquafina? Yeah.
Okay, we're going to do a really fun exercise, and this is a great way to get to know the brushes that you're using and that wet-on-wet technique that we have been playing with. So,
Amanda was saying a glaze is just another way of saying a light wash.
Oh, a glaze is just another way of saying a light wash. That's how I've heard it used.
I have
Amanda.
other information too about the glaze wash.
Okay, share it.
Just to share with everybody. A glaze is putting another wash on top of an already dried wash.
Oh, a glaze is putting on another wash on top of an already dried wash.
And then someone else says glaze is in acrylics, not watercolor.
Well, glaze is used in all different types of mediums, so I'm fairly certain it's used in watercolor, pottery, acrylics, oils, all of that kind of thing. But yeah, the layering one does make sense, and that is more like a wet on dry technique, which we'll go over. What, Keenan?
Nothing.
Okay, I'll go over more of that in the videos. Okay, so now this little exercise we're going to do is you can do circles, you can do whatever shapes you want, but basically you're going to do like, this is what I want you to do. I keep on saying this is what we're going to do, and I'm just going to show you. So I'm going to start off with some purple, and I'm going to make, let's do a heart. So you can use the tip of the brush, a more vertical hold to get a thin line, and then use the side of your brush to fill it in, okay? And that is a great practice in using the full size of your round. And then you're gonna rinse your brush and have it still connect to this. You're gonna do the same thing and have it hit on that purple.
Do I rinse it really good?
Yeah, you're gonna rinse it really good to where it's basically just water. And then that purple is gonna bleed into that water, just like that. Yep, and then you're gonna fill it in. And then while it's still wet, you can grab some pink. You can do a different color, and you're gonna do another heart and have it touch the wet area. And then if you want it to spread more, you can go ahead and poke in some color. So basically what we're going to do here is we're going to play with color, and we're going to play with that, how watercolor works with just putting wet water next to some color. So you're basically just going to keep making shapes hitting on top of each other.
Cute, like a little banner.
Yeah, you're gonna do, and you're just gonna kind of keep going. And this is a great way to practice the changing of colors. Now in the videos that we're gonna release tomorrow, I talk about how you can blend from one color to another and kind of go over all of that. But then let's say we wanna move over to, so while this is still, so all of this you're just gonna keep on doing while it's wet. And then you can kind of switch over to a different color if you want. I'm going to add blue. So usually when you're blending colors, trying to go from one color to another, like an ombre or something, you want to go with colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. So like purple and blue, that's a transition, that's a normal transition. Or pink to purple, that's a normal transition. But I wouldn't want to go from purple to green or purple to yellow because that would turn muddy and brown.
This is very relaxing, I feel
It's so relaxing, and you're gonna get the coolest textures. And the cool thing about watercolor is it looks different while it's wet and then when it dries, because like already I'm getting, like, look at that funky texture right there. Like that's cool. So cool.
It's like in a vortex.
Yeah, and it's just like, that just kind of happened. And that's the really wonderful thing about watercolor, is you kind of just have to wait and see how it's gonna look.
That's really cool. Because you're so purposeful with all the other art forms, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, usually when we're doing projects, I'm like, only paint to right here and then stop. But this is a fun exercise just to get used to. One, it's a great way to test out new colors that you have, and just to get used to the techniques that we just went over, the wet on wet, dropping things in, blending, all of that stuff. Alexander said they came in late. Did I talk about the color wheel at the beginning? I quickly went over the color wheel. If you missed it, don't worry. We're releasing a video series tomorrow where I go more in depth over everything we went over today plus more. So that will be releasing tomorrow, so keep an eye on that.
Do you have any tips for brush care?
Oh, for brush care. Tip number 1, do not leave your brushes just hanging out in water. So like, don't do this. So if you're not using it, what I like to do is I just leave it on my paper towel. Now, for me, I don't wash my brushes that much because I just rinse them with clean water at the end. So when you're done painting, take your brushes, rinse them with like medium temperature, room temperature water. Don't use hot water or super hot water. That could degrade the glue that holds the bristles. And I just rinse them that way, and then I just kind of lay them down to dry. Don't take, if you're using big brushes like a 10 or like these, don't take a paper towel and squish them off. I did that one time in art class and my teacher got very mad at me. So don't do that.
I don't want to get yelled at again.
Honestly, what she taught us to do, and this is with big ones, the small ones it's not as much, is you literally just like whip the water out of them, like go like wah, wah, wah. And then you lay them on the table and then you let them, and then once they are dry you can store them up, right? But the smaller ones, I like my 2s and my 6s, I usually just rinse and then just let them dry on my paper towel.
So I think Kendall was saying that she still doesn't quite understand the difference between the brushes.
Oh, sorry to keep asking, but I don't understand the differences in types of brushes. So Kendall, in the different types of brushes, the bristles themselves are shaped differently, and then depending on how they shape, they're going to give you different effects. So this is a round. We know it's a round because it has a thick bottom and a tight top. So this is a round brush. This right here is a stroke. Strokes are similar. Let me get a wash.
You make me nervous. Every
Sorry,
time you do that.
I'm gonna like fall back.
I know.
Okay, this is a wash. Usually washes are just like square, like this. A stroke is similar to a wash, except it has a longer top. So it's more like a rectangle shape as opposed to, can you get that? As opposed to just a square. This right here is a liner. It's just long and skinny bristles, so this is great for making long, thin lines.
It's a real close up on your face, but...
Me? Oh.
And then this is a fan. So these are not all the different types of watercolor brushes. There are many, many more. And there are actually really useful little illustrations next to the types of brush and what they will do. But I like to use the rounds the most because of how versatile they are. So that's what we mostly talk about, is rounds while we're painting, and that's what I use in just about every painting that we do. However, if you choose to start going into your own projects, which I highly encourage you to do, and let's say you really like doing landscapes and skies, then you might really want to look into the washes or the strokes as opposed to rounds, because it's easier to get an even wash with these than it is with rounds. So I was just kind of going over the differences of those. So if the rounds are not doing it for you, there's different kinds that you guys can look at and play with. Is there a way to take too much paint or water off your paper? Absolutely, William. So let's say I'm painting, and let's say I go to lay some water down, and it's like this whole, it's a puddle right here. Just take your paper towel. Always have a paper towel handy when you're painting, and you're just gonna hold your paper towel, and it will literally suck that water right up. And then it's no longer a puddle on your page. The same is true. Let's say that you accidentally and you're like, oh shoot, I dropped my paintbrush. Take your paper towel. It can't get rid of it completely, but it will lighten it up a lot. So if you drop a really wet brush on your paper and you're just like, and it has a color on it and you're like, oh no, I ruined it. Calm down, you did not ruin it. Take your paper towel, soak it up, and if you're quick enough, and if it, totally sometimes it will come right off, so just don't stress.
Don't get mad about it.
Yeah, don't get mad about it. You just got to work quick.
You got to live life on the edge.
You got to live life on the edge. You got to do all of those things simultaneously.
All your bucket
Okay. And this is also true. This paper towel is really handy. Let's say you put a color there that you didn't like, and you're like, oh shoot, I really wanted that to be blue instead of purple. You can still suck that color up with your paper towel, and then you can put a blue over it, just like so. So don't stress. The point is to just kind of keep on going, and you're gonna make mistakes as you paint. Everybody does. I do every single time. It's just kind of manipulating your painting to see if you can cover your mistakes or if you can just work fast enough to kind of pick those up. It's not a huge deal.
Well, and you probably notice the mistakes way more than anybody else would.
Yeah, you for sure. As the artist, you're going to notice those mistakes where if some viewer comes along, they're going to have no idea. Now, the other thing I want to talk to you guys about, which is pretty handy, is this is a Mr. Clean Magic Eraser.
Ooh.
Okay? Now, these things are so nice because, and you're going to want to use clean water, but let's say you have a mark on your paper that you want to get off. So I picked it up with water, but there's still a watermark right there with some color on it. You can take your magic eraser and gently rub, and it will get rid of that watermark.
Wow.
It's gone.
I mean, it's completely gone.
It's completely gone.
That's
so
really impressive.
If I'm doing like an original painting where I don't want paint splatters and it's kind of a big deal, I have a magic eraser handy with a cup of emergency clean water that I try really hard not to use because it's important that you have clean water to do it. And then I just kind of tear off a corner, and then you gently rub, and it will take away color. Now, this might not work for like black. Also, if you scrub really, really hard, this is me scrubbing hard, it's going to degrade your paper, and your paper is going to rub off itself. So when you're using this, be gentle. Gentle, soft little rubs. But it's been a lifesaver for me, so if you guys have magic erasers, save one, put it on your art desk. Super handy to have. Okay. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we really need to go over.
So the beginner visuals, she said they'll be available on our site or on YouTube?
Oh, the beginner videos will be available both on our website and on our YouTube.
So where on our website could they find them?
Oh, that's a good question. Look for them first on YouTube, and then we'll probably put them with like supplies, I would guess. Yeah. We're probably going to make its own specific area on our website for those beginner videos, but we'll post them to YouTube for sure. So our YouTube channel is Let's Make Art, or Let's Go Make Art.
No, it's Let's Make Art.
Let's Make Art is our YouTube channel. You can find them on there tomorrow. Rita asked if I can go over the salt technique, please. Rita, I would, but I don't have any salt. I'm so sorry.
I have salt right here.
No, I was gonna be like, Raven.
Keep it in my pocket always. Just kidding.
Salt is super fun. It's one of those things where if you do a wash, similar to when we were doing our like dark medium washes, while it's still wet, drop some sea salt in there and you're gonna get some super cool textures. It's a lot of fun. I wish I had it here, Rita, and I will demonstrate, but we will for sure use salt in the future, so don't stress about that.
There's a couple of kits that we have used them for that you could check out. Like I know the Fox, we did a lot of salt.
Fox we did salt, Autumn Leaves we did salt, Winter Snowstorm we did salt.
And I think the main tip that she has mentioned was to put the salt in there and then just leave it, because you're not going to notice anything until it dries. So I made that mistake first.
I always forget to tell people that, and I'm so sorry. You're not going to see the effects right away. You're only going to see the effects as it's drying and when it dries. So right when you put in salt and you're like, it's not doing anything, don't put in more. You just have to wait a minute for it to dry. Okay. Oh, the Galaxy. Judy, we did the salt in the Galaxy. That's the first one we used that for. So it's a lot of fun. Check those out. Here is the color wheel. Somebody asked to see it again. Somebody asked if these are synthetic or bristle brushes. These, I like to use, the brushes we sell, and my favorite are the Princeton Heritage 4050 series. These are a synthetic sable brush. I like the synthetic because they have a good snap back to them, which means if I'm pushing down and then I lift up, see how they regain their shape just like that? Where usually natural hair brushes, if I push down and I lift up, they stay bent, kind of like a mop, which is great in some painting, but for what I like to do, I like to have it to get its shape back. So I like the synthetic sable.
I think they're just asking a little bit more about the salt too. So
okay.
You can use regular table salt because you said sea salt, so I think just regular.
I have used regular table salt too. Yes, you can use that. Although I was thinking that my regular table salt might be the sea salt. I don't know.
I've used regular salt.
Okay, great. Yeah, you can use regular salt just off the table and make sure it's wet. Put it right on the paper. Make sure it's wet. Keenan.
Amy would like to know if your round brush gets bent or warped, so some bristles poke the wrong way. Is there a way to save the brush?
I haven't found that there's a way to save the brush if some of my bristles kind of get funky or warped. Like I had a round 2 where the bristles, like half of them just started going to the side and splaying to the side. That's just a sign for me to get a new brush. That's what I take it as. I have heard somewhere that you might be able to actually soak the bristles in warm water and try and get it to shape back. I've never tried that though. So you can try that. I have heard sometimes reshaping them with nice, really warm water might work. So you can try that. But usually if I start to lose my point on my brushes, when it doesn't get into this nice narrow point when they're wet anymore, that's kind of when I start to look for another brush. Now I paint a lot on here, so I replace my brushes, I don't know. It really just depends on how much you paint but of when you should replace them. It just depends on how much. But if they're not keeping their shape after a long time, if they're kind of just going everywhere, that's when you should kind of look for a new brush.
Somebody said they want to see Keenan.
Keenan, come around and say hi.
Have you ever introduced yourself on here?
No.
Never?
Maybe I should stay in the background.
No, Keenan, you gotta come up. Come on. You guys, this is Keenan. You gotta poke down. Yeah, I'm waiting for you to come back on the screen. He does great.
Fade in and then fade out.
All right.
Good job, Keenan. Oh, somebody says that you can maybe use your iron on low to reshape bristles. There's a soap called Master's Brush Soap that you can use to sometimes reshape bristles on your brush. I haven't tried either of those things, but those are great ideas. People are saying hi.
So on the YouTube,
yeah.
Christina says, as far as the brush, fixing the brush back, trying to help it out, try the Master's Brush Cleaner and Restorer.
Okay.
I think she said she found it on Amazon. She mentioned it earlier.
Master's Brush Cleaner and Restorer for reshaping bristles. Good to know. Thank you, you guys. Keenan, stay mostly on the ground. Okay, I think that's really all we're going to go over today. But So just so you guys know the flow of how we do things, on Wednesday we release pre-recorded tutorials. So tomorrow we release our first tutorial for the first project in our January box, and we paint it live next Tuesday at 7:15. So if you have your box, you guys are welcome to dive right in and play with it a couple of times. If you're brand new to watercolor, I encourage you to tune into the live, or at least watch the live later. We always keep the lives up. We keep everything we record up. So don't worry if you can't tune in live. But usually with the lives, I go into more information and warm-ups and how to do things. And the pre-recorded tutorials are more like, you have 40 minutes to paint this picture, go, kind of thing. I go over stuff, but it's just a little bit quicker. So, so every Wednesday, look for those tutorials. We send out an email. We post them on our Facebook and our YouTube so you can see them there. We paint a new project every single week, and if you have the subscription box, we have a little postcard in there for a Let's Make Art Matter. We have that pre-stamped and pre-addressed. We send it to a different person or family who just needs a little extra love that month. And you can paint whatever you want on that. It's totally up to you. I usually always do a live paint along towards the end of the month. If you're not really sure what to paint for it, you can just tune into that and paint with me, or you can just paint whatever your heart desires and drop that in the mail, and they just get a little message of love, and it's really wonderful. What time is the video being released tomorrow? 10 a.m.
Normal time.
I'm saying it now.
And it will be done.
And it will be done. So let's see. I think that's all I need to go over.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, first of all, you're awesome. I'm so glad I got to be here today. And you too, Keenan.
Thanks.
But I also wanted to introduce, they're not here, but I wanted to introduce our customer service team, since we do deal with the customers a lot.
Yes.
So I'm Raven. I'm sort of acting as head right now. And then we also have Helen, and we just hired Aisha. And then Alexis helps us, and Sarah sometimes has to.
The last couple weeks I've been.
Oh, poor Sarah.
It's rough. Customer service is rough.
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention their names so that you know who you're talking to, and that those are part of our team, and I really love them a lot, and so I just wanted to give them a shout out as well, and just.
Yeah, they're really hardworking, and you guys are awesome. I know that the holidays was just madness, and we tried really hard getting all those orders out and everything, so we just really appreciate you guys painting with us. Sticking around. We're gonna get better. We're getting better every day, and we're growing.
Learning so much, and it's so fun. It's so fun to be here with you guys and to experience all this.
Okay, I think that's all we need. Brock, do I need to say anything else? He just came in.
He hasn't been here all week.
Okay, so then we'll release that tutorial tomorrow. The beginner video series. Thank you. And the Rainbow Wish tutorial, and then we'll paint that live next week, 7:15, Tuesday. We'll be here.
Yay!
You guys are awesome. Okay, bye. Okay.